All right, guys, it is March 4th, year of our Lord 2026. Um, Last night was the blood moon. I didn't get to stay up and watch for that. It was too cloudy anyway. Um, so if you got to watch it, kudos to you. A little jealous, but life goes on. About some people were thinking tonight or today would be the great and terrible day. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't expect it until probably mid-March. I can be very wrong about that, but maybe even closer to the end of March. But I don't know. I just know that there are things going on that prophets have been talking about that have that are being fulfilled. So, with that being said, I'm going to say this. You can sit there and say that a person is lying and trying to, keep you hooked in and all this stuff. Listen, guys, this is what faith is about. If you believe what the prophets say, and you believe that God is talking through the prophets, therefore you have to believe with that it's going to happen in God's timing, not yours, not mine, and you're going to have to accept it. Now, am I telling you that I'm right, you're wrong, and that everything's going to revolve around with what I say? No, I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is this is what faith looks like. Believing and standing strong in that belief. A lot of people have a tendency to, well, it hasn't happened yet, so therefore it's never going to happen. And that's about how far their faith goes. They get frustrated and quit. There's been times I've been frustrated and wanted to quit. But guys, here's the thing. There are certain things that have been taking place that only God could have done. The shot that pierced Donald Trump's ear, only God could have made sure Trump didn't only God could have made sure Trump turned his head at that moment in time. Otherwise, he'd have had his head blown off. Plain and simple, that was God. That wasn't a random act of a gust of wind. That wasn't random. That was the hand of God. And for you to say it wasn't, I'm going to be honest with you, there is no coincidences in the world. Everything happens for a reason. So that's my belief. So I don't know what else to tell you. There is a lot of information that is being ready to be poured out about a lot of stuff. UFOs is one of them. Aliens from another world. From the sounds of it, it's not aliens, it's demons. So, and it depends upon your definition of a demon. So, you just be prepared for mind to be blown, and be prepared for the stuff that they're going to be showing you. There are things that go bump in the night in this world. There are. I've seen some pretty weird stuff that I can't explain in my lifetime, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can make the same statement. Some people have been fortunate enough to not have anything crazy go on in their life. Kudos to you if you haven't had that. You're the lucky one. But there are things that go bump in the night. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not hocus pocus supernatural stuff. It's either demonic or it's not. And most people don't believe in demonic things at all. There's a lot of people that believe that that it's just part of nature. You can't have it all good. You got to have good and bad. The necessary evil. That's not the way God made the world. That's not the way I'm understanding God made the world. Let me rephrase that. So, there's a lot of ways you can interpret one thing, and I'm putting my faith in God and interpreting it that way. So, that's my point of view. And everybody's allowed to have their point of view. If somebody's saying something that you don't agree with, fine. But they're still allowed to have that point of view. Alright? Like, my wife has a different point of view than I do about things. And that's perfectly fine to have that point of view. I don't get mad at her for having that point of view. I don't put her down for having that point of view. I tell her that's a great way of thinking about it, but here's where issues come in. And then I start pointing out the issues. Excuse me. And sometimes I'll do the same thing to myself. I'll point out the issues after I've said it. It's like, well, in my head that sounded really good, but now that I stop and think about it, that's not the best way to handle this. So, things happen. Everybody has to be able to evolve and learn on their own. it's interesting to see how a lot of people behave when they think nobody is watching. But what I would say is always behave as if God is watching you, because He is. So, and you're being watched all the time by God. He knows all, He sees all. He knows 5 minutes before you do something, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, in the whole 9 yards. He already knows. It's already been written. So that's where we're at. And that's my understanding of how this works. Now, do I think that God has a right to spy on us? It's not a spying thing. It's a fatherly love thing to keep an eye on His kids. That's my opinion of it. And God doesn't have just human beings for kids. His angels are to protect us in certain times. They're like our big brothers. So, if you stop and think about it, we're all connected in that way. And in my opinion, the angels are our bigger brothers. And then Jesus is the responsible son that everybody respects. And then there's your father. Now, that's a family that I would love to be a part of. That is a family that I am a part of. Yes, I may suffer a little bit here from time to time here on this world, but that suffering is not even mentionable, in my opinion, because we're here for such a short amount of time. There was a pastor had a cord that was about a foot long. He took 3 inches, put a piece of tape around it, and he grabbed that 3 inches and says, "Why are you worried about this 3 inches while you're here on this earth and you're not worried about the rest of the footage?" You don't care about the rest of the 9 inches of your lifespan. And that was a very in-depth way of looking at things. And it definitely opened my eyes up. We spend so much time worrying about status quo, who likes us, who doesn't, who we think is important, who we don't think is important, to where we're not paying attention to what actually matters. When we're no longer here. A lot of people think they'll live however they want, and at the end, when they know it's coming, they'll ask for forgiveness and repentance, and God will accept them, and they'll go to heaven. I don't think it's going to work that way, for the simple fact, if you know about God, and you know between the good and the bad things to do, then you're just going to run and do all the bad things, and then all of a sudden, Lord, I'm fixing to die. Please forgive me for everything I did wrong in my life. Instead of changing it when you knew the difference between right and wrong from a young age. And you went to church, you know about God. He still may forgive you. I may be completely wrong about it, but at the same time, I think that there will be a consequence for that. And I don't know what the consequence for that would be. But, and a lot of people bring up the thief on the cross next to Jesus, and he said, Lord, remember me when you're in your paradise. And Jesus says, you will be remembered, my son. And Jesus died, and I think he died a few minutes later. And was taken to heaven. But here's the rub. Here's the other side of that coin, if you will. One, that guy had never heard of Jesus until he was on that cross. Two, he didn't know any better because nobody taught him any better. Everybody nowadays knows roughly right from wrong. Maybe not the best way of being a Christian. I'm not the best way of being a Christian, obviously. But I know the difference between right and wrong, and I know the difference in helping and hurting people. And if I choose to hurt everybody, I think I have to pay a consequence for that. Regardless, if I ask for forgiveness at the split second when I know I'm fixing to die. Instead of trying to do good and help people understand things and do my part to try to walk a better path. And then when my time comes, I already know where I'm headed. So, and no, just because you gave somebody a bottle of water in a hot summer day and doesn't mean that you're immediately into heaven because you had one act of kindness. It doesn't work that way as far as I know. Now, I may be totally wrong about it, but God says everything you do will be judged. All the bad stuff you've done, all the good stuff you've done. So, and if you've done nothing but bad, and you ask to be redeemed one time, knowing you're fixing to die, I think there's a difference in that. I don't know. If you don't know, I mean, I can keep going back and forth on this. I just don't know exactly how that would work out. I'm not God. I can't say. But what I will say is this: everything that you do matters, good or bad, it matters. And there's consequences for everything that we do, whether we see them or not. And I like having a clear conscience, so I choose to lock the monster away. A lot of people have said I could be a very scary guy at times, and I'm like, I don't understand why. I can be very calm and collective. They're like, yeah, but I've seen your temper flare up just a little bit. If you let that thing go, I'm like, why do you think I don't let it go? So, there's just a lot of stuff that can happen with consequences. And I always prefer to be on the better side of the consequence. Yeah, it may not hit me for 10 years, but when that good consequence does hit, it is a really good consequence. My wife used to sit there and say, why are we being punished for all these things? And I'm like, we're not being punished. It's the fact that good people suffer from time to time. Things go bad because the devil likes to test you. And a lot of times it's tests that we think God is punishing us for, whatever reason, because we didn't go to church enough, or we didn't crack our Bible this day. And it's not God, it's the devil. So next time you're feeling like overwhelmed and, everything's hitting you all at one time, just turn around and say, Lord, please help me get through this day. And if you have to, wake up the next morning, repeat it. Lord, please help me get through this day. And just do what you can. But I do think there is going to be a consequence for you trying to play both sides of the fence until your last moments. So my opinion is, stay away from the fence. Choose a side and stick to that side. If you later choose to switch sides, by all means do that. But stop pretending that you're one thing when you're not. All right, guys. Remember, God loves you. God bless you. Remember to pray.